Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Mahoney and I blog at marveloustales.com about books and writing. Mostly fiction, but today I'm actually here to talk about a nonfiction book. The Lazy Genius Way by Kendra Adachi. I just read this in the last month, I want to say, and I really enjoyed it. And I really like the ideas and the insights it gives. So the concept of the lazy genius is being a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't. So sometimes that means letting go of the things that don't matter and just not doing them anymore. Sometimes that means figuring out a sort of middle ground way. So rather than doing all of the things or none of the things, you do something that's a little bit in the middle. You don't exercise 5 days a week or sit on the couch all the time. You exercise for a few minutes once or twice a week or whatever might actually make sense for you. So that's the sort of overarching concept of it, and I really enjoy the idea of this kind of middle ground way, and also about identifying what matters. So part of what Kendra says is that she's not going to provide you with a system. A lot of books are, here is a step-by-step process of how you're going to make your life work in a better way. And I like books that are about making my life work in a better way, about managing stress or feeling less busy or how to get more stuff done and not feel like you're overwhelmed. I like books like that. This is one of the best ones I've read, I would say. So she says it's not a system. What she provides are 13 lazy genius principles. So the book is organized that way with a chapter for each principle. Some I found more helpful than others. I think all are pretty good, but I found some just sort of applied to my life more than others did. And that's probably going to be true for most people, that some will resonate with you more than others. But I think they're good ideas. So she offers these principles that you can then apply to the situation in your life. She also offers a lot of practical tips, which I liked too, about ways to do things or how to make something work. And she does a lot of stories from her own life. She's coming from the perspective of she has 3 fairly young kids, and so life is pretty crazy busy. And I found that resonated with me because I have a 5-month-old and I'm gonna have a young kid in the near future. So it definitely kind of speaks to where I am or am about to be. But I think it is good advice, good ideas, even if that's not the season of life that you're in, which is how Kendra would describe it, I'm sure. So to give you some examples, some of the principles, I mean, she starts out with kind of here's how it works, how to think like a lazy genius. Then she gets into the principles. Decide once. So don't decide every morning what your routine is going to be. Just decide once and then do it. Actually, routine is a later one. Build the right routine. So that's sort of hand in hand. Start small. That's kind of what I was thinking with the exercise one. She gives the example she wanted to do yoga, and she had plans. She was going to do an hour of yoga 4 days a week or something like that, and go to the gym and have the yoga outfit and the whole thing, and it never worked because it was too much. So instead she set the goal of doing 1 yoga pose a day, and she stuck to that. And after a while, maybe she started doing a second pose or holding it a little bit longer or something like that. And it's small, like almost ridiculously small. And that's what she says, that sometimes you may have to set the goal at a point where you feel like, well, this is just absurd. But if that's the level where you're going to do it, then it's better to do that than to set the really high goal and not succeed and feel guilty about it. Set small. You can always go bigger if you need to, but start with something small. And then hopefully you'll actually go with it and stick to it. So you're not being lazy or a genius about it, you're just being a lazy genius and hitting that middle ground a little bit more. I particularly like lazy principle number 3 is ask the magic question. Her magic question is, what can I do now to make things easier later? So some of that is kind of identifying parts of your day. Where can you make, where is it particularly stressful, and what can you do earlier when things are a little less crazy to make that part of the day easier? Or just what's something that would set you up well for later on. Her example is, so you're gonna cook pasta that evening, but 5 o'clock is crazy, there's kids running around, you're tired from the long day, it's a hard time. So fill the pot with water and put it on the stove at 10 a.m. if that's the time that's easy to do it. Assuming you're working at home or stay-at-home mom or father. Probably not going to work if you are out at an office, but maybe you do it before you leave for work. I don't know. And then at 5 p.m., all you have to do is turn the burner on. Don't turn the stove on in the morning, obviously, but you just have the pot of water there and it's ready to go. And it makes your life easier later in the day. I like in the evening to leave a napkin and my book at the kitchen table because I want to read when I eat breakfast in the morning. Mornings are pretty busy. I get probably 5 to 10 minutes over my cereal to read, but it's easier if the book is already there. And if I don't sit down with the cereal and then realize, oh, I forgot a napkin and have to get up and go get it. It's a little thing, but you know, it's annoying in the morning. So I try and put the napkin out with the book in the evening, and then it makes it easier the next day. Let's see, she has some other ideas. Live in the season, like I was saying before, recognizing whatever season you're in, and letting go of the guilt is also a big thing. I feel like letting go of the guilt is a big thing throughout this book, of feeling like you should be doing more or doing better or doing something different, and letting go of the guilt if you're not succeeding at that. Because I think it's very common to have very high aspirations and life gets in the way. And you know, and it's not that you shouldn't set goals, obviously, but it's those goals we keep not meeting or stressing ourselves out about that we need to look at a different way. And sometimes it means recognizing, oh, I have a 5-month-old. Life's going to be a little bit crazy. We're probably going to be doing some things that we aren't going to make a habit for years, but right now it's how we're managing with a 5-month-old. For example, we're doing a lot of pizza. My husband would probably be happy if we kept doing pizza one night a week forever. Maybe, we'll see. But certainly for right now, that's what's happening. Build the right routines, I mentioned, that's another one. Set house rules, that's an interesting one, sort of say this is how we're going to do it. She realized that her kids dumping backpacks on the floor really added to the chaos of the afternoon. So the new rule was you hang the backpack up. That's the house rule, and it cuts down on the chaos. Put everything in its place. I love that. I like tidiness. It's important to me. Well, anyway, it goes on. There's about 5 or 6 more, but I find them all interesting at least, and some are particularly helpful, and I particularly like her examples a lot. She has some good, very specific tips as well. I also listen to her podcast. Since I found the book, I started listening to the podcast. She's got 200 and some odd episodes. She's been doing this for several years. I went back and favorited a bunch that I'm particularly interested in, and now I've been listening to them. So I'm not doing all 200 and some odd. I'm listening to the ones that are particularly interesting. But she has a lot of good advice and a lot of good insights as well. And even more in the podcast than in the book, I think. I get this sense that she's in some ways responding to, I don't know, maybe like Home and Garden magazine or Instagram accounts where women, probably women more than men, seem to have their house and their meals and their perfect wardrobe, and everything is just all together and beautifully done and, you know, ready for the magazine shoot all of the time with their 3 angelic children. And then people look at that and feel bad about their lives not looking like that. And I feel like a lot of Kendra's stuff is a response to that of, hey, it's okay if that's not your life. Figure out what does matter. Maybe having the perfect artistically plated dinner is not what matters. Feeding your kids is what matters, even if that means you're having spaghetti for the 3rd night this week. The kids are getting fed, that's what matters, and you can let the rest of it go. So I think it's a helpful way to look at it. I find her style, both in her podcast and in her writing, very I don't know if approachable is quite the word I want, because it's not a situation where you're approaching anyone, but kind of that idea, very personable, very welcoming, very easy, you know, it feels like a friendly person who's just talking to you as a friend. And that's a nice style as well in this kind of book. So The Lazy Genius Way has some great principles on how to live your life like a lazy genius, to focus on what matters and be lazy about the things that don't. So that's the book. I'm Cheryl Mahoney and I blog at marvelous tales.com. Thanks for watching.